Hello there. What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be sitting down with John Kovaleski from Monster Fight Club talking about the new Kickstarter that just kicked off for Monster Scenery Ice Wilds. This is some really cool looking stuff. John, how are you doing today?
We are good. I'm a little tired. We've been going at this now for, I guess, about almost 4 weeks trying to get this thing done and ready to go so we can get it out and show people. And then, you're locked up with COVID and everything else. So you're trying to just get it done and be safe and get things done. Yeah,
absolutely. It has been it's been a wild ride. And last time we talked to you guys, you were just finishing up on the Metropolis Kickstarter,
yep.
And that one seemed to be pretty successful and did really cool. And I know a lot of people are really looking forward to that, myself included. It looks great, and we've gotten more ice stuff now. You sent over a couple of photos. I'm going to run through a couple of them above me, and I'm going to talk to you about some of these. So if you guys are watching,
send it.
Check out above my head. So this is awesome. Now I recognize that while this is an ice-based Kickstarter, there's not just icy stuff. You've got a whole new tree type here that we're looking at. So tell us a little bit about these trees.
So the trees are pine trees. So the first ones we did were the deciduous trees because we weren't happy with any of the deciduous trees that were out there before. And we came up with that innovation where you have the trunk and the top comes on the top, and then you can take the top off of it. And then what's cool about it is then you can actually play up in the tree, hide things underneath and everything else. So the one you're looking at in the picture right now, these are our pine trees. One of the things that we do is we don't like the idea of when you have different things on a table and you take it apart, you can't use them individually. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the pictures, there's a series of cones. Every cone is its own tree. So that you can take the cones off, you can put them on the ground, stack them up if you don't want the trunks, or if you want to get some serious height. I mean, that tree that you're looking at there, it's over 10 inches tall. It's almost a foot.
That's crazy. It's
yeah.
And so that's higher than, and you've got a Legion ATST in comparison. And here you go. He's holding one in his hand. That's amazing. That's beautiful, and it makes me think.
And then you're like, all right, we're just gonna, you take them apart. They look fine for what they are, and then you kind of stack them back up the other way, which is fun.
And so you can put all of these on the ground too, and that would almost looks like a Christmas tree if you wanted to. Yeah.
Put it right on the bottom, and then there's enough room inside. You can take a fig, fits up underneath, so you can have hidden deployment and stuff like that. So that's been fun. And then the trunks themselves look cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely, very cool. So I love that you're and that's a great thing is for a tree. And I've used this, and I've used some of the trees that you guys sent me in some of my battle reports. So if you guys have been watching my Legion battle reports, you've seen some of these trees. You're kind of pulling double duty here because if you want to do the green lush scenario, you put the green tops on. If you want to do like dead wastelands, you can just take the tops off. It's still a tree. It's still providing light cover or providing interaction. And so that much is awesome. But it's not just green stuff where we got the theme here is the ice wilds, the frozen tundra, and all of the ice themed stuff. So tell us about some of the different, and I love this photo, by the way. Excellent job, because you definitely appealed to my geek spot with this.
What's funny is I didn't even set that up. We just have models laying all over the shop. So I come in one day and I'm like, holy cow, that looks great.
Yes.
It out and then sat there and started taking pictures. So one of the great things about the first Kickstarter that we did is we went through and we spent a lot of money on the steel tools to have the bolts made. So then when we came back, we were experimenting with, hey, how can we make them look like ice? How can we make them look like fire and lava and do some different things with that? Mm-hmm. So these are the production shots that we did of the parts that came through. So the hills themselves. So here's one of the ones from the table that you see over there.
These are big.
They're great, and they're hollow too on the underside. So they're light, they're small, they're hard, they're very durable. They're also flat, so you can take models and kind of stand them up on top, and you can actually play on the stuff, so you're not having slopes where things are falling over.
Right.
You can also take a pair of them, which is fun, and they're designed to go together in sets.
Beautiful.
So that you can lock them together and do much larger things. So when they're on the table, they look great. So, you can make cannons and do all kinds of other stuff. So we ended up we did a whole series of prototypes, and there were a couple that we did that we really liked the looks of them. Like, we can't decide. And we're like, you know what? We're going to let Kickstarter decide. So we made 3 different types. We're going to make them all available, and then we'll figure out what's going to be retail after we see how the sales go. So this is the painted one. So
Right.
this is completely painted. Basically, it's sub blue, and then we dry brushed it up to the whites to kind of make it look like the one you have on the table. And then we did this one,
Oh yes, that's beautiful.
which is neat. And what's neat about this is you can see my hand up on the inside. It's actually clear.
Mhm.
So, you can literally freeze models and put them in the inside so they get trapped and do different stuff. And then we took this one and did a dry brush over the top of it.
Oh,
so
that's
now it's this
something.
more frosted looking glacier thing. It's almost like when you go skiing and you have a really icy day and then you got the snow and stuff on the outside. So this is almost the best of both worlds. So
Yeah.
it's got the ice, it's covered in, it's still very playable. Everything goes on top. I think this one is the one that looks more like, icy glacier, whereas this one is like snowy rocks.
Yeah.
But they also look good when they're all tied together. So when you mix and match them and do different things.
Oh yeah, you could totally do that. That's beautiful. I really like the first one a lot, but man, that last one is I think that might be my favorite one. It's really something. And now I know you have pictures of these on the Kickstarter, but seeing you kind of move it around in real time kind of like gives it a little bit of a difference.
When they're like this and you're actually getting your hands up inside of them, they're pretty impressive looking, and they're super.
Mm-hmm.
Super durable.
They have those tabletop candles too, right? Like the little battery-powered candles they have in restaurants. You can put something like that inside of that to make it really glow and catch the light too. If you really want to fancy up your table, that's a really cool idea. And you can totally fit, because it's hollow, you can put that stuff underneath there.
Yeah, you can do some, and we've also done experiments where you basically paint the underside.
Oh, yeah.
So by painting the underside, different things come up. So, depending on, you can paint that like a purple, and then you have the reflection, it gives it depth and everything else. So it's pretty endless when we're sitting there playing with it. But the materials are a lot of fun to play with, and we're happy with the way the table looks. So the community is allowing us to get creative and do different things and see what works, and we'll have it all figured out eventually.
That's beautiful. I love it. It's really going to be nice. And I'm a big fan of the frozen stuff. My first terrain that I started making for Legion was all based on Hoth and all based on the cold stuff. And there's a lot, and Legion has, two main battlefields that I think have inspired Legion, which is one of the games that I cover, but and one is Hoth, and then the other is Endor. And I feel like you're hitting both of them right here, especially with these tall trees. It fits that kind of Endor lush kind of bikes weaving through. And and for your trees that already exist too, like if you wanted to have a mix and match, like a really dense populated forest, you could vary it up. You could put both types on there, have alternating heights.
I think you had a couple of pictures where you had the entire table layout.
I do.
And that was all mixed and matched.
I think that is the next one. I've actually got a couple of table layouts. So like this first one is one of the frozen table layouts. Now this one is more of a frozen forest as opposed to more like a Hoth, but you have a lot of options with stuff like this. So so this one is beautiful. It's and I can probably make it a little. I'm gonna stretch it out, make it a little bigger. It's gonna cover you up a little bit, so the folks watching at home can kind of see.
Oh, that's cool.
But this is also there's pictures like this all on the Kickstarter, so definitely check out the link. I'm gonna put a link in the description below. You can check out the Kickstarter and take a look at all of this. There's a whole lot more images there, but these are really pretty. I'm gonna go through a couple more. This one's really nice because you're able to see some of the green mixed in with some of like the frozen and the frosty and the clear ice too. This is really something nice because with a pre-painted terrain, you get so much color, right? That it adds to your table. Like what was going through, what are some of the thought process behind like what colors to add? Did you just stop at green, or are you doing more colors than this? Or
no. Well. First thing we did was we did the winter, but in order to get the winter, you got to do the green first, then you got to put the snow on it and kind of go from there. And then, when you're looking at the picture that you have there, you have, the clear ice, you have the snow covered hills on there. I also see a bunch of stretch goals that are hidden away in there. There are stumps and fallen trees and barricades that act as cover and everything else. There's also some ruins in the background that use the same tech that we use from our Metropolis on the inside. We figured since we had the clips since we had the clips already, we would use the clips and see what the fantasy side of it looked like, and
Oh
they came
yeah.
out really, really neat. So we've been playing a lot with that to kind of see what we can do with it. And then when we put the green on the table afterwards, when we were doing the different paint tests, we're like, yeah, the green looks really, really good. And I think there's going to be some people that are going to think that if it's white and it's snow covered, you can't use it with other things. So why would you mix and match it? Mm-hmm. And I think it looks pretty good when you start going through it.
Well, you can even do a gradual. If you get multiple tree packs, you can have like the left half of your board be mostly green, and then the middle, like you start to stagger and have like a gradual, like almost like a terrain line, where I mean, like, especially if you can set it up right, it can be beautiful. Now, I also see some fallen over trees in there too. It looks like you guys are doing some different like tree, like dead trees kind of.
Yep. So a couple of them in there are from our first Kickstarter that we did, and those will be available in the pledge manager as well. But also all that stuff's on our website right now from the original one, so people can go in and get a lot of this stuff right now. But the pine trees, the fallen pine trees, the beaver-eaten pine trees, there'll probably be beavers to go along with it. We did polar bears, and we did some dire wolves, and we did all kinds of crazy animals and stuff to go along with it. And as the Kickstarter progresses, we'll be unlocking a lot of this stuff. If you're gonna have bears, then you need bear traps, and if you're gonna,
that's true. Wow.
So if you're gonna go out there and do bushcraft, then you need a proper hut, you need the walls, then you need to be able to protect yourself from them, and all that different stuff will hopefully unlock as we move forward through the Kickstarter.
Right, and this isn't just for like, you're a lot of this stuff has RPGs in mind, and here's the part of the forest, right? So maybe before you get to the wintry, I'm going to blow this one up a little bit too. And we've got a lot of different, and it's not just all greens and whites too. We've got our amber and all of our different colors of the spectrum in here, which is really beautiful.
We kind of laugh because the pine trees were like, oh, we should do some autumn pine trees. I'm like, autumn pine trees? That means dead pine trees. And we're like, all right. So we'll call it blight brown. So we have a blight brown, and we kind of have a gray, which is kind of more used up. But it's when you mix the colors, I think it looks super cool.
Oh, it does. And you could even put them together for like a cursed area. Maybe there's a witch that has control of this land.
Sure.
There's and it's not just for wargaming. It can also be for role playing games. That's obviously a big incentive for a lot of people with their tabletop setups.
A huge community for us is the D&D Pathfinder guys.
Absolutely.
That's a big one. Yeah, when we play all the time, and it's hard to use terrain in a stream. Mm-hmm. So everybody's kind of sitting around and talking and doing that sort of stuff. We are going to do some games here fairly soon where we're actually going to have a designated table team that is going to move the figures and do the terrain. And so we can sit off the side and kind of do that. You see, set up a couple extra cameras, and you just have to get it going. But
another thing that's great about this, I was, I know some people use things like Roll20 or a lot of people want to do like digital maps also with their Skype sessions and their Zoom sessions and all of that. Well, another thing that's I think is really cool about having a lot of terrain, it can be really difficult to like maybe draw a terrain in some kind of CAD or paint program or something like that. But you can always just set it up, hold a camera overhead and take a picture, and there's your map. You can make infinite maps that way, but just by taking photos of your terrain. And it's going to look super cool.
It's funny you say that. We're actually working on a free terrain pack that we're going to offer for Roll20.
That's amazing.
We're going to take all of our stuff. We're going to do pretty much what you just said, but we're going to take the CADs and doing renders and everything else. We'll put it together, and we're like, here, go out and play with it. And if you like it, then come back and buy the real thing later.
Beautiful. Yeah, like here, this will get you through 2020. And then when 2021, hopefully when you can actually do this in person, a little bit easier. Or 2022
with some more flaming dumpsters.
Yeah. Amazing. So no, this is really cool looking stuff. There's also a new playmat that you're offering with the with this setup, and I think I've got it's kind of underneath some of the terrain here. There's more close-up pictures of this on the Kickstarter website. But
so this play mat here, when you look at it, it's basically a giant frozen lake down the center of it. So it's all broken ice and everything else. And then if you looked at the templates that we went through before, when we had a pond and then we had like the forest ground underneath them, for the ice ones, we did a hole in the ice And then the other side was the covered ice. So you could take that cover spots on the existing map if you don't want a particular hole someplace, or if you actually want to put a hole someplace, you just flip it over and slap it down.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Which we thought that was pretty useful.
And you could even use this for naval games too, if you wanted ships like breaking like icebreakers and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you're up for we had a teaser image out there where we had a sailing ship that we had on the front that looked like an icebreaker, and it was kind of breaking in the center of it.
I admit I stole that comment from the image on your that. So it's coming.
Gotcha.
It's coming full circle. All right. So this is this Kickstarter just started off. You are running until October.
Yeah, so it's a 20-day Kickstarter. Today's day 1, so 20 more days to go, or 19 more days.
Well, depending on whenever you're watching. If you're watching this like a week later, then maybe less than that. So don't hesitate. Yeah. Definitely head over. Now you said you talked about a pledge manager. So if somebody is interested but they're not sure, can they just pledge $1 and get the access?
Yeah,
to the
put in $1 to give you access to the pledge manager when it comes open, and then it's just like a store when you're finished. You go in, you look at what there is, and then that gives you a nice big window to decide what you want to do when you're going through. So like the Metropolis Kickstarter, that pledge manager is still open. Mm-hmm. So we are neck deep in production. One of the big things we did about the other one was we wanted to do that production here in the States because we didn't want to have to rely on anything overseas right away because of COVID. We didn't know how it was going to work out. So, as soon as we funded, we had our laser here, and we're making the templates, and we're injecting, we're doing our own injection molding and stuff here. So we've been injecting the corners and getting everything done. And then about 3.5 weeks later, the laser that we had basically died. Oh, yeah. And so we're like, okay, so now what are we going to do? So then we went and got another one, which showed up, I guess, about 2 weeks ago. And so that one's up and running. This thing's amazing. It's 52 inches wide by 36 inches the other way, so roughly 4 by 3 feet. So you could laser cut a small child. You put them in there.
So you're telling me the next Kickstarter is going to be
ginormous.
Yeah, ginormous. Children holding your terrain. It's statues of necromancers raising zombie babies.
Why not? Sure. If only our printing tech was big enough to use all of that together at the same time.
That would be something. Wow. So, all right. So you guys have a lot of beautiful terrain. I'm going to put some links at the end of the video to some of the Monster Fight Club scenery that I've reviewed. It's in some of my battle reports too. So some of you guys aren't sure. There's already going to be some links. As a matter of fact, you have a link to one of my reviews on your Kickstarter page, so you guys can find it there as well. Really nice stuff, and most people honestly are going to save a lot of money here too, because I spent over $300 3D printing terrain for just one table one time, and honestly, you can get a table's worth for less than that here. That's going to come pre-painted. Right.
Yeah, it's funny. So we're offering the STL files too. So if that's your thing, then come on in. You want different scales and everything else. But when you actually do the math and the time, and you put it all together, I actually think it's cheaper to have it done the other way. However, I'm a maker too, so I enjoy sitting there and making the stuff myself.
Well, also, getting it molded like you have, it's pretty durable. I've had 3D printed models break. They can be a little brittle, and your stuff it's got a little bit of give. It's a little bit flexible. It's not gonna break. It's super durable. And,
so this is one of the old trees from the last one that doesn't have any paint on it, but it's
got give.
I'm putting some proper. And it's not snapping. It will bend before it snaps.
Right.
So even that, I bent that end over. And it's fine.
Yeah, no, they're very durable and coming. And you're also offering some
actually flex. You can bend the crap out of these.
Yeah, exactly. So it's gonna last. It's definitely gonna last. It comes pre-painted. You're also offering a non-painted option now too, if somebody wants to do it themselves.
We had a whole bunch of people over the first one that were like, well, we're going to repaint them anyway, so we don't feel like we should have to paint for the painting. And I'm like, you know what? That's fair enough. And during the Kickstarter production, because when we do the painting, we mask, it all gets painted together. But it's easy enough for us to not have it painted during that time. But if that's what we're going to do for production afterwards, we want it painted just because we want it painted as it comes through. So if somebody wants to save a little bit of money, we're
cool.
making that available on this Kickstarter.
That's awesome. And they still come as the colored plastic, so it's still going to be resemble the thing, or is it all going to be
Exactly.
gray?
So I'm going to show you. So here is a green top without being painted.
Oh, and that's even. I mean, you could even use that as is if you wanted to.
You could.
But if you a little dry brush would bring out a lot of detail on that.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that's unpainted brown.
Yeah.
So you put them together and it works. So
it does. Yeah. Of course, honestly, the painted versions look a lot better, though. You guys do a good job with that, especially for some, fulfilling as many orders as you do. They just look great. So
it's when you get into it, it's like you're not going to see that kind of bark texture unless you dry brush it.
Right.
But also someone that hobbies a lot who's just good at it. They'd rather do it themselves. So.
Yeah, understand. And there's different strokes for different. I think it's really cool that you're offering, different stuff at this stage. Where it's effectively like a pre-order. Somebody can go in early and say, "Hey, when you're putting your 1,000 orders through, set like 10 of them aside for me. That don't get painted." So it's like that totally works. Whereas during the normal production process, maybe you can't do that. But now at this stage, it's nice to offer. So if you're watching at home and you're saying, you know what, I want to save a little bit of money and get some non-painted, you can do that. Or if you would just rather your stuff come pre-painted, that's absolutely that's one of the strengths I think of Monster Fight Club's terrain is it's beautiful. It comes pre-painted. You don't have to do any of the work. You just open up the box, set it on the table, and go.
I know me personally, I would rather have my table painted, but how many times do you go to a store and half the models aren't even, you're watching people playing Warhammer or something else. Yeah. Everybody's unpainted armies, which makes me sad.
It makes me sad too. And it is weird because I don't want to be elitist, right? Because I know I love to paint my stuff. When Legion came out, I took a couple of days off of work so I could stay home and paint everything like that Thursday and Friday. So that weekend I had painted armies, and I painted them so I could, and I was the only one with painted armies, and I'm like, okay, I rank this a little higher than some other people do apparently, but yeah.
But you know what? Yeah, it's when we used to play at the store all the time. We'd go down there and hang out, and people tend to gravitate to the lowest common denominator. So if you have a couple of guys with really nice painted stuff, it gives everybody in the store something to aspire to. And everybody's stuff comes up. Yeah. And even people that didn't think they could paint, the amount of times that I've taught people how to dry brush, they're just like the first time they dry brush it, and they're like, "Oh my God, it looks amazing." And I'm like, you're just sitting there going,
Yep. That was one of the first techniques I learned, and I was blown away. I did a whole set of zombies for one of the zombie side games that way, and I got 100 models done in like a day. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is a really quick, if you don't need extreme detail, this is a really good way to get 60% quality done very quickly and bring out all of that detail. So,
and then once you do it, you're like, oh, it'll be easy enough to put a little paint here and a little paint there. Next thing you know, you got a painted army. You're like,
absolutely. It's beautiful for that. And some things I still do. I don't do as much dry brushing now. I've been working on my edge highlighting and trying to do more of the slightly more advanced concepts. I'm still a work in progress though, but it's fun. It's a fun thing to do. So John, thank you for talking with us today, telling us about the Ice Wilds. This is a really cool looking Kickstarter. I can't wait to see more, and maybe we'll get a couple more people to check it out and unlock some more stretch goals.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. And I know last time we ran a contest last time, didn't we?
I know you got. Yeah, I think we were doing something like that. But that's up to you. It's
I'm all for it. So okay. if we want to do another pledge contest, I'm all for it.
Okay, well let's do that. So if you guys have stuck with us this long, if you haven't closed the video already, go ahead and make sure you're subscribed. Leave a comment. And you've got to check out the Monster Fight Club Facebook page. Let them know that you saw the video on Crabbok's channel. You can respond to respond to one of their posts, preferably for this. You could share it. You could share the thing on Facebook, but you got to say somewhere in there that you saw the interview with Crabbok, or you saw the video on Crabbok's channel, and that'll enter you for a chance to win a pledge.
Yep. And then you can pick what you want to do that. So whether you're doing fantasy stuff or you're building indoor, it's up to you.
That's awesome. Well, Thank you so much. And even if you don't, you can still pledge at the $1 level, and you're not gonna risk losing anything. So don't not pledge because you're afraid you're gonna win, because you could always it could just add to. So
Exactly.
yeah, it could just be a little more extra for you. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much. That's pretty cool. So yeah, definitely check out Monster Fight Club on Facebook. You can follow them on Twitter as well, and just all the links are going to be down in the description. So check those links in the description below. It's easier for you to just look at them than for me to remember all of them that are going to be there and tell you.
Sure.
All right, well, that's going to do it. I want to thank you guys all so much for watching. Thank you, John, for sitting down with us today, and as always, have a great day.